It says we're live.
It says we're live. Okay, we're back. Episode number 150.
Yes.
Milestone
Lovely
episode.
restream issues.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked before about leaving restream, and I don't know, maybe they're listening to us now because
Usually talk about it every 50 episodes or so.
yeah,
About leaving.
it goes through times like this where you're just like, come on, and then it works
Yeah.
like a champ
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
months.
For 50 episodes. I know. All right. Well, anyway, hey, good to have everybody back. Daniel, you're about ready to kind of give a brief intro for yourself and your background, and then we're going to hit up some of those predictions from episode number 100 and see how they came together.
Well, I'm again honored and really excited to be here tonight. I can't believe this is episode 150, and this is the third time that we're doing this. Such an incredible show, and really excited because I think some of the predictions we were pretty close on. So yeah. But quick introduction: Daniel Disney, not related to Walt Disney, just a LinkedIn social selling nerd who loves this platform and just wants to help as many people as possible. So really excited to chat about all things LinkedIn and social selling today.
Hey, before we go into the predictions, I have a question for you, Daniel. The episode 50 would have been, I guess, 2 years ago. We've started this about 3 years ago. What would you say is, because we're going to go back to maybe 50, but what would you say since the first time you were on till now, what would you say has changed the most and what has stayed the same the most as it relates to LinkedIn, especially as it relates to business and selling?
It's a really good question. I'd say the biggest change in the last, if we were going to say 2 to 3 years, is the amount of people using it. LinkedIn is a lot noisier than it used to be, and that's a good and a bad thing. I think we've got lots more salespeople using it, lots of people sending good messages and creating good content, and obviously we have the flip side of people sending bad messages and bad content, etc. So it's definitely a noisier place. But what hasn't changed are the core principles. Like, to be successful on LinkedIn, you have to send good conversation starting messages. That's always been the rules, and that's still what works now. You have to share value giving content. That's still how things work. You have to give value, you have to be engaging, build a personal brand. Those core principles have always been the same and still remain true. We're just playing in a slightly different, noisier landscape, but we can dig into that today.
Yeah, it makes sense. We were talking last week and Carson, we were talking last week, remember, about when we started the show, there was no AI or there was no ChatGPT. There was no AI comments or AI, things, right? You had to do it the old fashioned way where you had to type. And I think a lot of the noise I would expect, Daniel, has come from the fact that it's a lot easier to create content and get it out there from the AI perspective.
Definitely. And there's good and bad to that.
Yeah. Well, hey, Carson, do you want to start? We can hit some of these predictions from episode 100.
Yeah, would love to. Daniel, thanks for being with us. I went back and combed the archives thanks to AI and pulled our episode 100 and tasked it with finding me Daniel Disney's key predictions.
Carson,
when he consulted his crystal ball, what came true, what didn't.
Carson, did you pull up the date of that by any chance, just for reference?
I can get it for you.
He can do anything with AI. He just does Ask Copilot and it will come right back from him.
Yeah, I can try to find that for you. I know it was about a year ago because it was 50 episodes ago, but I will look that up. But here's the key predictions, and we'll dive into kind of the umbrella statement that was made. And then I think we can peel back and go into each one individually. But number one, AI will keep transforming sales in LinkedIn. I would say by and large, that's pretty true. Number two, the LinkedIn algorithm is evolving and tougher. And I would argue it's probably even tougher than we anticipated. And so definitely want to spend some time on why that is and how we can navigate that and where it's going. Number three, LinkedIn is moving toward pay to play. And I think we're seeing now we're being prompted to boost posts, and we're seeing a lot of the sponsored posts where maybe we didn't see that before. And we're seeing our own posts get a lot less impressions than they did historically if we're just writing natural organic posts. Number four, video is making a comeback. Number five, CEOs and executives must lead on social. And number six, the two big predictions for episode 150 was AI will still dominate the conversation, and B2B influencer marketing on LinkedIn will explode, with companies investing heavily in partnerships with trusted creators. So, Daniel, based on that, where do you want to start? What do you feel like hit the mark, exactly where you threw the dart, but also maybe what's still evolving with the platform?
I mean, we've got to go with the algorithm. I'm going to put above AI, and AI is definitely going to be a big topic. But the algorithm, as you rightly said, Carson, has been a lot more brutal than we expected. But we were right in predicting it was going to get tough. But I also want to tie that into pay to play, because they're literally linked. But we could start with the algorithm.
Yeah, what is what was the algorithm then, and what is it now, and what's changed a bit in that, and what's made it more tougher, and is there a way to still have reasonable success in an organic manner without the pay to play?
Well, if we go back to like the first few episodes that you would have had 2-3 years ago, we can sort of remember, like, even Gary V was going out and saying LinkedIn's the place to be, organic reach is so amazing. And there was that period of time, 2, 3, 4 years ago, where everyone was coming to LinkedIn because you could literally post content and organically reach tons and tons of people. That was what the algorithm was doing. It was pretty much free access for everyone. And what's happening is, I would say, a mixture of two things. Number one, LinkedIn trying to evolve the algorithm to ensure that users get the best experience. So that's sort of fighting against the pods and the people that are trying to manipulate the way that LinkedIn works, as well as bad content going out there. They want users to get the best content. That's ultimately the goal. User first. The other thing is the reality that LinkedIn is an evolving social network, and it is a revenue-driven business. And so the goal, like with every social network, is to monetize. And so the whole pay to play and having more control over organic reach, so that people want to and need to sponsor posts to get the maximum impact, that was always the long-term game. It was clear 5-10 years ago, just like it was on Facebook and Instagram and other social networks. So it's kind of LinkedIn, and that's what we've seen this year with the algorithm. They've got tougher on organic content, and sponsored content is now booming.
How have you shifted your strategy in the last 50 episodes of the last year?
A mixture, again, of two things. I am really spending a lot of money and time and resource in the sponsored ads space, and it's yielding amazing results. But that's a whole journey and education of learning how that system works. But then my organic content has seen a huge rise sort of over the last 3 months, and that again is adapting to the current algorithm. And I would say we obviously don't know word for word what the algorithm is or what it's doing, so I sort of use it as listening to my audience. So I'm testing what format of content are they responding well to, what style, what type of stories, what type of topics, etc. So just listening and paying attention to your audience and what they're responding to, I think is a key thing to help navigate and continue to ride the wave.
Hey, Daniel, along those lines, I've been hearing a lot of very, very focused content where people have been a little bit wider, but getting narrower and really, really, focused is what the algorithm wants. Of course, none of us really know exactly what the algorithm wants. We learn by doing what you did, right? Look at your own content, look at the engagements, and start to make some assumptions. But would you agree with that a narrow, focused content is what the algorithm wants?
I agree. Narrow focus, but sort of topic and industry focus. So again, if we look back 2-3 years, it was all about selfies and personal brands and personal stories and vulnerability. That now isn't trending well or getting good engagement. Now what it is are top tip strategies, longer text form posts that have a lot more strategic insights, can still be attached to a photo, but it's not about a personal story now that's resonating. It's about really actionable, tangible stuff, which is a good thing. It's what we want. We want good content, valuable content, not just the fluffy stuff to be boosted. So yeah, absolutely. Focused, industry relevant topics that resonate with your target audience. And again, the more value you can give through education, insights, etc., then the better it's going to resonate.
Yeah, I figured if anybody knew the algorithm, it would be Daniel Disney. Go ahead, Brandon.
Is that like, I mean, I get a lot of questions. This is kind of a weird topic, but I get a lot of people that go, man, I'm just so sick and tired of seeing on LinkedIn the posts that start with, I lost my job in 2008. Right. And then it goes into this big channel, like the whole hero's journey type stuff. Haven't been seeing as much of that. And I'm assuming it's because the algorithm is not giving that as much play. What are your thoughts on that? Just because that topic, I get asked weekly, like multiple people weekly will say that, like, oh, LinkedIn, here's what I hate about LinkedIn.
So I want to drop one insight I learned earlier this year from LinkedIn directly, which I was quite fascinated by, is that there's not just one single algorithm. There are multiple algorithms, and what you experience or one of the listeners or viewers might be experiencing could be very different to what we experience. So there are multiple algorithms running all the time, which again is understandable in how a social network works. But then it's good to understand when people are giving you algorithm insights or tips, and even what I'm sharing are viewpoints of myself and obviously the people I work with. It is quite unique. But to that point around those hero journeys, and again, similar with the sort of vulnerability posts and all these people that have challenges or etc., there wasn't really a lot of value from that. And so whilst it worked a year, 2 years ago, because people like to connect with those sort of things, that's for a lot of those creators, that was all they knew, and that was maybe all they had. So they kept doing it, and repetition is one of the biggest traps on LinkedIn. If you, just because you might put something out and it becomes successful, a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking, well, I'll just keep sharing those stories or sharing the same story in different ways, and your audience will get bored very, very quickly. So it's all about adapting, and you have to have value to give. There has to be a lot of depth to what you can bring to the table, which is what, again, we want people that have experience, that have stories, that are on a journey, that can provide consistent value, because that's not easy. It's a challenge. It's hard work being a creator, a good creator on a consistent basis. So yeah, I'm glad we're seeing less of those fluffier pieces of content. And I don't know about everyone here, I see a lot of good content, in the last few months.
Yeah, there's some good articles. I looked up a few in advance of today's show, and I found a couple on Social Media Dashboard, Cleverly, and Sprout Social that talk about basically what you just kind of summed up, guys, is the what the algorithm is favoring and what it's not. Really video trending up, strong relevance signals, so things that are really relevant to the audience, that it's going to be applicable. The posts that I make, they get the best play, are typically the step-by-step, like, hey, this is what I did in this exact situation, and that are conversation starters. Be provocative and don't sound like everybody else, but ask a question of the audience so that it fosters engagement. Actually having meaningful conversations as opposed to trying to favor vanity statistics, and then expertise first posts. But you said this, like, what it's de-emphasizing low value or duplicated content. So talking about the exact same thing over and over again, purely promotional posts. So like just talking about like, hey, look at me. And then also like over reliance on organic reach. So that's where the paid thought leadership has really come into play. I'm tinkering with it a little bit. But I still am seeing a lot of good traction with just talking about very specific stories of, hey, this is, if you were laid off in the tech crunch this year, these are the steps to take. If you're struggling with leveraging LinkedIn to go out and prospect and get executive meetings, this is what you should be sending and saying. I usually get a lot of play from those.
Organic reach is still massively valuable, and I think it always will be in a lot of ways. I think the key pivot is that organic reach works when you're giving value. So again, when it's content of value. Now, when you're giving good content of value, usually you can't, the moment you make it promotional or you try to sell something or promote something, that's when it is not valuable, and that's when your audience will switch off. That's where I think paid ads are working very well, is if you do want to sell something or need to sell something or want an ROI, actually being able to boost a slightly more sponsored post that should still be as organic, authentic, and valuable as possible is a great way of guaranteeing results. And the ability for companies to boost thought leadership posts, so individual people's content, I think is the absolute cherry on top, the sweet point where it really gets it right. Instead of a company page just putting out an advert, you can now sponsor an employee or the CEO or a director or an influencer, and those posts convert. They get the engagement, they convert into opportunities, and that's where I think paid ads is really starting to work this year. But one thing I just wanted to jump on, going back to the organic piece that LinkedIn has sort of really pushed this year, is the analytics. We're able to now see so much more detail in the analytics our content's getting, and that can help. So for everyone who's watching this or listening to this, you can go in and not just see impressions, likes, and reactions, but you can see how many people are saving your posts, reposting it, and things like that can show you, or how many followers you're gaining from each post. And that's a really good way to see what content is actually resonating, because it's not always the ones that get the highest engagement. And that's been really powerful this year.
Hey, Daniel, a couple of questions before we leave organic. One is, you mentioned a theme, right? Or having a theme, or more niching. So let's say I don't know, I get on and I talk about supply chain and tariffs or something. Will I get extra credit or more value if I keep my posts along that same sort of area? Hey, I'm talking about supply chain and tariffs, and then I'm not off talking about cooking hamburgers. Or is it, what is it that they're looking for? And I know we don't know necessarily, but are you seeing that you get extra credit for keeping along a common theme or a common conversation? That's the first question. The second question is, with the increased amount of probably people posting with AI and so forth, is that also affecting the algorithm and the organic reach? Because now you have more players in the party trying to get their stuff up there, so you have more that it's having to sort through.
To the first question, the consistent theme has always been a key part of LinkedIn from the day I started using it. But that doesn't mean you only talk about one topic. It just means generally there's that consistency. So, for example, I talk about LinkedIn social selling. It doesn't mean I don't share a personal post once
Right.
a week. So it's important to have that bit of balance. But yes, absolutely, there should still be. You don't want to be talking about the supplier thing and then talking about finance and then talking about marketing, and so yes, consistency really, really does help. And to your other point around more people using it, yes, that's why the algorithm has been harder this year, because it is noisier, and LinkedIn has been battling the AI content piece for the last couple of years, and it's really hard for them. I completely appreciate it's not an easy challenge, so that's why it's tougher. But organic reach is still powerful. Like, people are still getting huge engagement on purely organic posts, so the opportunity is still there. It's just about being creative, value giving. Just the standards, the sort of the ceiling on it is a little bit higher, but we all just need to meet the new standards.
Yeah, and I think that's where, what I'm hearing you say too is that's where the paid reach is coming in too. Like, Tom, it's been what, a year and a half since you and I started using paid ads for a few clients, and that reach for the cost is still incredible in LinkedIn compared to a lot of other platforms. Gosh, Tom, we had 600,000 impressions, and I forget how many clicks of a video, but we had people who were watching over 60% of a video, and the total spend over like a 8-week period was like $3,800. Like, it wasn't expensive, and I think it just seems like, obviously, LinkedIn's in the business of making money. They're moving it that way, but there's, just like we probably talked about 2-3 years ago, there was all this opportunity in organic. I think right now there's all this opportunity in paid at a really good rate. Would you agree with that? I know you're spending a lot of money, or you're spending money in paid ads.
Yeah, spending a lot of money. And yes, because it used to be really not very valuable. Sort of 4 or 5 plus years ago, LinkedIn ads were massively overpriced, massively under delivering. People were losing a lot of money on it. Now they're definitely delivering really, really good value, and I definitely think there's going to be an upward trend on that. What I see now, and I've been banging this drum pretty much the start I was teaching LinkedIn and social selling, that organic window is shrinking, and it is continuing to shrink. We've seen it shrink a lot this year, but now is the time. If you're not already, now is the time to start growing your audience, building your brand, and sharing content, doing all the organic stuff. Now is the time to do it, because whilst paid ads is going to continue growing, you're going to get more results if you've got an audience, if you've got a personal brand, if your teams are active and consistent, all those things are going to make those results even better, because coming in completely cold with no audience, no brand recognition, no value out there, even paid ads are going to struggle to deliver real ROI. So I would really recommend, whilst this window is still here, now's the time to get you and your teams active and consistent on LinkedIn so that you can then benefit from all those other things.
How do you think great sellers at average companies, like, the average company today, should be thinking about their LinkedIn and their strategy? I think historically sellers have looked at, they connect here and there with executives at organizations that they work with and or ones that they're prospecting to. They might watch some of the content that's coming through. But as you're seeing some of these shifts, like, how should sellers be thinking about engaging with content, but also their own content and brand in today's LinkedIn?
It's about becoming, and there's a book, Daniel Priestley wrote it, called KPI, Key Person of Influence. And I think I read that 12 plus years ago. And it was definitely something that, helped me on this trajectory. But it's about becoming someone of relevance and value and credibility within your industry, which is what a lot of the best salespeople do at conferences, at networking events, at in-person things. It's now just applying that digitally. So again, having those conversations, which would be the equivalent of commenting on people's posts on LinkedIn. It's about sharing value. So again, what you would lead in a conversation, or potentially the ability to get on stage and deliver some sort of value. It's just applying the things that a lot of these salespeople are very good and competent at to the LinkedIn landscape. But the key thing is just being consistent, just showing up and bringing some form of value.
Daniel, everything you just said, is it still just like sales always has been? It's your reputation.
Massively.
Your reputation is going to determine if somebody's going to respond to something or not.
Yeah. You think of the decision makers now, who are, a lot of decision makers are active in some capacity on LinkedIn. They're getting inundated. Sales has never been more competitive. They've got options. And who are they going to lean towards? It's probably going to be the people that they see showing up. And we see this. We see the people that are successful on LinkedIn. These are the messages and comments they get. Oh, I've seen your content. Yeah, happy to meet. Happy to get an email from you. Really enjoyed the value you've given. All those sort of things. The people that are building brands and being consistent on the platform are the ones that are winning deals in the long term. It's not to say it's the be all and end all. It's not to say every single decision maker is on LinkedIn, but it is such a key component, and it's only growing. LinkedIn is still growing so fast.
Is that where you think like boosted posts? So I want to clarify something for a lot of people that think about LinkedIn ads. There's ads that are like, go buy my stuff or click here to register. But a boosted post, you can take one of your organic posts that looks just like a post, because it is a post, and then you could boost it to, say, a very specific list of people. And when they see it in their news feed, they may not even realize it was boosted or paid. It just looks like an organic post. But now you're ensuring that this specific list of people, maybe it's the people you're going to be calling over the next 6 months, right? They're seeing it. And you can rotate it around from different people in your company, from the company itself, from the company page itself, and all that. Is that what I'm hearing you talk about with this combination of organic and paid? Because I think if that's the case, there's so many companies still. We've been talking about this with you for 2 years. We've been doing it on our show for 3 years. There's still people, like I had a call today with somebody that said, we're just trying to figure out, like, we know we need to be on LinkedIn. We really have neglected it until today. We need to get started. And these are the types of conversations I think they really need to have about these 1-2 punches with organic and paid. I know I said a lot there, but would you agree with that? And what would you add to that for somebody that's really trying to figure out LinkedIn?
I 100% agree. And it is scary that in 2025, there are still so many companies, and even some of the biggest companies, where only a minority of people are active on LinkedIn. That's a scary reality. And it is, it's still a lot more than it was 5-10 years ago when no one was using LinkedIn. No sales teams were using it. So we are seeing a shift, but it's still so far from being the sort of majority. But yes, I agree. Boosted posts work a lot better than sponsored posts. So the ability to boost an individual person's content. And again, like I said, that could be the CEO's content, it could be the sales team's content, or it could be external influencers. But we can get really tangible with this. Let's say you're going to be exhibiting or attending an industry conference. Create content about it, boost it to the target audience that you know are going to be there. So it's going out, it's banging out. You can then start to set up conversations, meetings. You're getting yourself in front of your customers. There's really strategic ways you can do this. And as you kind of highlighted, it doesn't actually have to cost a lot. You can boost posts from 20, 30 pounds, dollars a day upwards. It's not something you have to spend hundreds or even thousands on to make an impact.
Yeah, Dan, I appreciate real quick, Tom, that example you just gave is exactly, Tom, what you and I did for a Microsoft partner a year and a half ago, right? They had invested a lot for them to go to the show, and they had paid sponsors and breakout sessions. And I think they contacted us, Tom, 10 weeks before the show. And so
yeah, it was pretty soon.
Before their trade show or conference, and said, we haven't done anything to promote this. And that's what we did. We created video content. We published it organically. We boosted it to everybody we believed was going to be attending that event. And I think, Tom, I can't remember, we like 4x their pipeline goal or something like that.
Yeah, well, and they had a lot of traffic to the booth that people were like, I saw you on LinkedIn and I needed to come by. Right, right. My question, though, when you mentioned the boosting of the post, is that the same as a thought leadership post, or is that the same? Because I know you can obviously, go against your LinkedIn business page, but when you boost, it's the same as a thought leadership ad, correct?
Yeah, again, these are sort of terms that kind of cross over. Sponsored posts in all capacities, but yeah, boosting and thought leadership is kind of the same thing. It's putting ad spend behind an individual person's piece of content, and I see it right now as a way of guaranteeing results with the algorithm, with organic reach fluctuating. Engagement is up and down. With sponsored ads, you can pretty much guarantee, and it will tell you once you've done all your who you want it to reach and what you want it to do. It will say, and you put in, I'm going to spend this much. It will give you, and it really hits the nail on what the expectations are. So you can see and pretty much guarantee results, which you can never and will never be able to do on LinkedIn organically.
Yeah. And one thing that we've learned by doing stuff with the ads, the ads have a reputation, or did have a reputation, of being super expensive. And I think you probably still can spend a lot if you're doing lead ads and conversion objectives and things like that. But if you're just really going for reach, which is what we're looking for with a boosted post, and Brandon, that's what we did. We said, how do we maximize the reach? We didn't pay a whole lot. The cost per 1,000 impressions was low, relatively low, and we were able to reach a lot of people. But I'm sure you can still spend a lot of money on conversion ads and lead ads and things like that, but that's a very different strategy.
I think there are ways that you can get a really good ROI if it's some sort of value given middle ground. So instead of here's a lead form or a demo form, which are always going to be harder to confirm, you have to spend a lot of money to get those sort of opportunities. But I'll give you an example. I did some boosted posts for a company's webinar, and it was like astronomical the amount of signups we got, because it's a value resource that they're going to be getting from it. So if it's an ebook or a webinar or a live event or a virtual event, those are great ways of then really maximizing. And it's obviously not, still relatively top of funnel people you're getting in, but it's still a great way of driving a lot more traffic, which you can then start to convert through marketing funnels.
I like this comment here. We have a LinkedIn user, so I'm not 100% sure who made the comment, but he says he likes the term KPIs, knowingly purposeful interaction. I think that's a very good objective.
I wish we spent more time focusing on that than some of the other KPIs that people focus on, but I digress. Daniel, I'd be interested. How are you leveraging AI in your strategy? I tend to try to tinker with different things, but I never want to over pivot, because some of the things out there on LinkedIn, I mean, they stick out like a sore thumb. You can tell when somebody wrote a post purely with AI. You can tell when somebody wrote a comment. You get a second degree connection that writes a comment on your post, and it sounds like just, that it's AI. How are you leveraging it? How should the average seller be leveraging it today in their strategy with LinkedIn?
So I personally stay away from AI comments. I have not seen any example of that being successful or effective. The challenge is commenting as an activity is quite time consuming. So that's the only downside. You do have to physically be there. Whereas like a piece of content you could create and share within a few minutes, comments you kind of have to be relatively active on. But AI comments, I've yet to see any positive examples of those. Same with messaging. I've yet to see real good AI generated LinkedIn messaging. That being said, LinkedIn's Sales Navigator are launching Sales Assistant, I believe, in January. And I'm hopeful that's going to be heading in the right direction. That's going to be their sort of agentic solution to find you leads, find introduction paths, and then start crafting those messages. But it's a lot more moldable. You can change the tone, you can change key components of it, and it will learn from your messaging styles. So I think we're heading in a good direction, but we're just not there now. For me, it's content that AI is becoming very, very helpful with. And I'll give you 2 ways I'm using it now. I use ChatGPT to come up with content ideas, or sometimes skeletal bullet point, drafts of what I want a newsletter to be or a text post to be, that I'll then, it gets me several steps into the process, and I'll go in, like it's like a lump of clay that I can then mold, as opposed to having to start from scratch. But like LinkedIn poll ideas, ChatGPT is amazing at that. Again, you make your little tweaks, make it your own, but it gets you further down the line. The other thing I've been testing the last few months, and I'll be posting about soon, there's a new AI content tool called Stanley, and that literally is a AI version of you. It takes your profile, your content, and creates content in your voice. And I mean, I've had several posts go viral that were created on that tool, and that's pretty mind-blowing. So for me, it's all about the results. If I can use AI and it does a job that delivers a result, then for me that's a box tick. But I'm mega hyper critical with these things, and always just trying to see what it has to still be me ultimately.
Yeah, you've done some amazing polls with daily sales, and get great commentary. And I think a lot of it's because it is provocative and it entices conversation. And I think we've got to keep those themes at the heart of it. I'm the same. I use ChatGPT a ton, and where I've leveraged like newsletters before from my own page. What's great is like with ChatGPT, you can take a transcript from a webinar and turn that into an article and create an image that coincides. And I always like to look at ChatGPT or AI as the editor. Like I'm the final push, but it's an editor, and but you can't overdo it when it comes to like all of the negative statement that they quickly turn into a positive. If you ever notice that, like I always try to take those out, like it is, sales isn't just about blank, it's about this. And it's like, you see a lot of those types of things. And I think some of those things stick out, the overuse of emojis and things like that. But I definitely think that incorporating it into your strategy and helping you come up with ideas is a tremendous way to leverage AI. And frankly, even from a messaging standpoint, sometimes I'll say, give me a subject line that will maximize open rate based on this email, something like that gives me an idea, because I think about where I get blocked or stuck at each part of the process. If somebody doesn't open my email, doesn't matter how good the email is. And then same thing, like, I used to be one of those people that I write a really long email and pat myself on the back and say, wow, this sounds really good. But nobody cared, because they have a short attention span for email. They pay attention to maybe the first 2 or 3 lines. And it's like, you know what? Give me a 2-sentence hook that will maximize attention. And that's where I'm leveraging AI, is just to make me better at little parts of the process that make a big difference.
I want to add one more way that I'm using it that is also really powerful at the moment. So I use a tool called Otter.ai to transcribe all my conversations, and they have an AI chat built in. And after each conversation with a prospect or customer, I ask it, what are 3 to 5 LinkedIn post ideas that would resonate with that customer, or that are based on insights that were shared from that conversation? And that's been amazing at creating more prospect specific and customer specific content, because it's taking it right from all of those conversations. And that's powerful, because that's kind of what my customers want. That's what decision makers want. They want to learn from other decision makers, and especially for salespeople, they're the ones having most of those conversations. So it's nice now that we can really tap into that in a way that all those conversations are recorded. This is what AI is good at, is doing things that are beyond human capabilities and being able to do it at speed, and luckily now at a decent quality.
Amen. Sometimes I even have it write empathetic notes to my wife, and it gets it far better than I do.
Oh man, Daniel, I like that one. Thank you. I hadn't thought about doing that. Like I've got all my calls. I get the transcripts. I look at them and I ask it a bunch of things that I get good insights with. But I never thought about it saying, "Hey, based on this, to do that." And that was good. Thank you. There's my gold nugget for the day. You get a gold star. I get a gold nugget.
I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
Hey, Carson, we're already 45 minutes
No,
in.
we're not.
What other predictions do we have here that we should? I don't think we're going to get to all of them, but what should we hit before we run out of time?
I think we wove some of these in, but one that we haven't talked about yet is, CEOs and executives must lead on social. And I think, I'll just say I definitely see more prominence from that perspective, but I don't know that it's as widespread as it needs to be. Daniel, when you talk to executives, and Brandon, I know this is your bag as well. Like, what advice are you guys giving to executives right now to really stand out amidst all the noise and the AI infiltration of the platform? Like, what should CEOs and execs be doing right now that maybe they weren't doing a year ago?
Do you want to go first, Brandon?
No, you go right ahead. I'm going to take that answer in a different direction anyway, but go ahead.
Well, the one thing I'm seeing, we are seeing more CEOs and leaders being active, and there are good and bad examples of that. I think where it goes down the wrong road is where, and it's fully understandable, CEOs hire personal branding agencies or ghostwriters to do it for them, and it starts off quite effective, but then it becomes repetitive, and it's very hard to ghostwrite on LinkedIn authentically for someone else. It's not easy. As talented as you might be, it's not an easy task. And because of the expectations of the audience, it just doesn't work long term. The challenge is CEOs are usually the busiest people. So it's not an easy challenge, but the most successful ones are the ones that do it themselves. And you can simplify. It doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours or overcomplicate it, but they're just sharing real insights. So it works, but it's about carving even just a small amount of time to come onto LinkedIn, share a bit of content, maybe write some comments, be active and present, and that can have all of the impact. The danger is going to be, again, agencies or over reliance on AI doing it. So I think the key thing for me is trying to help them find a little bit of time, even if it's just 15, 20 minutes a day. A lot can be done in that.
Yeah, I would say, Carson, I mean, one of the things, Daniel, that we do with Fist Bump is, we'll coordinate with them on their schedule. Is it like an hour a month? Is it 30-minute sessions here and there? And we're texting with them about their conversations. We are asking them to record conversations. They send us transcripts and we're getting ideas. And then we just get them in front of their computer and we interview them in order to get the content. And we're getting it in two ways. So we get it in video and we create shorts, and we're getting their transcripts. And then we use that to create longer messages, or even LinkedIn newsletters, or even email newsletters and things. And it sounds great. It sounds easy, right? Just show up. Here's over in about a 6 to 8 month period. I guess it was about August of this year. I'm looking at it going, our close rate is not good. Like the amount of conversations we're having. So I went back to a large group of people, said, look, I'm not selling. I don't care if you sign a contract with us. I'm just really, really curious. Can we get to what's really going on? And there was two things that I heard very, very clearly. And it was, number one, I don't want to put myself out there. And there was a couple of different reasons. It was, I know I should. I know I need to. I know it's the world we live in. I even heard some of them say, I'm just hoping that I can retire before this is mandatory. I mean, everything along those lines. I do not really want to put myself out there. And as I dug deeper, it was like insecurity. It was, I remember when I was listening to this too, Anthony Iannarino was on our show one time and he said something about when he's at dinner with the CEO and no one else is around, he goes, okay, tell me what's really going on. And most of them are like, I'm just hope nobody figures out that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Right? And we kind of laughed at it, but it was something that he heard a lot. And so it was, I really just don't want to put myself out there. And then number two response was about they wanted immediate results, right? They wanted immediate results. And if it wasn't going to give immediate results, then I don't have time for it. And it's kind of the antithesis of everything that they should be doing. But those were the answers I got. And the reason I asked you earlier about reputation, because a lot of what we talked about is, hey, we use these channels, these mediums, call it social media if you will, but we're just looking at these mediums do we need to build your reputation, to build your brand reputation. So when your salespeople are talking, they go, I know who they are. There's some brand recognition. There's some person recognition. There's something that's going to differentiate you from all the masses out there. And they'll do this. And then when it comes time to doing it, it's like, just don't want to put myself out there. So Carson, that's my long answer to it, but I still think it's a huge problem. And as you know, Alice Hyman and I talk about this a lot because her thing is if you're a CEO and you're not on LinkedIn, then you are, what does she call it? You're a sales preventer.
Sales preventer. Yeah.
So I don't know the right answer. If I knew the right answer, I would be a lot wealthier and I would have a much bigger company. But that is the problem. They just don't want to do it.
There's a very much deeper conversation to have there because it's not just that's everyone. There's everyone who isn't using LinkedIn. That's the same answer they give, whether you're a receptionist all the way up to CEO. It is that fear, that hesitation, and that is just an individual thing. All I see through, I'm not saying everyone needs to be or has to be on LinkedIn, but what I see through that are probably similar people that when, COVID hit, it was put their head in the sand. I don't want to make any changes. I don't want to do anything. I just want to wait until this passes. There are a lot of people that are scared of change and in all forms. When email probably first came out, people would have been the same. When, social media, there are always people that are a lot more resistant to change than others. And so it's not just a CEO or leadership thing. It's just that wider picture of how can we support people through that. And ultimately there was always going to be a percentage that, maybe they don't need to be. And maybe there are other ways, other leaders in the business that can be active and still achieve the results, ultimately.
I see it. It reminded me, I think I heard this the first time in college, way back then. It was the number one thing that scared people was speaking in public. And number two was death, which means at a funeral, people would rather be in the box than giving the eulogy, right? Ha ha, very funny, but it's easy to remember. But I always think about that with social media because it's, if you're public speaking, if you're in a room and there's 50 or 500 people, that's scary. But now you're taking that to exponentially more people. And it, like if you're on stage, when you stop talking and you leave, it's over. Unless, of course, somebody's filming it and all that. But on LinkedIn or any other social platform, it's there forever. I mean, I think that's what we're facing with most people.
I think it's a bridge that anyone can cross, though. I mean, when I started using social media, I was scared. I hated it. I was so uncomfortable with it, and it was a journey. And I think most people, at least, can cross that bridge and get to a point. It's just not focusing on those things, not thinking about all these people that are going to see it, or that it's because everything's deletable. And actually, if you go out there and it's, do you know what, I'm just going to share some of my stories. I'm going to share what's happening. I'm going to share what is working, I'm just going to be honest. It's all those expectations and things that we put on ourselves that make us even more scared of doing it. And I think there's a lot you can do to sort of coach and support people to feel comfortable with it, because everything's scary. The first cold call I made, I was scared. There's nothing positive about that experience, but we push through, we learn, we adapt, and we get better. And social media is just another one of those things. Some people are always just not gonna do it, but I would never want to be someone that's like that. I always want to try and push through the discomfort and try and get to the other side.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you on it. But I also feel, and I don't know the answer to this by any means, but I think there's something about social media that's like different for a lot of people, the way they look at it. I don't know why, but you're right. I mean, cold calling's hard, but we do it, but no one's really around. No one's watching us make a mistake. When we do it, like you put a video out there and people don't respond, it's like it really hits the ego.
I just always thought that if you're doing something that you know is if you're not doing it for that reason, then it's less of a negative thing. Like if you're going out there and you're waiting to get those likes, then of course it's going to be a stressful experience. But if you're just sharing something, you have to detach yourself, I guess, from the outcome and just go out.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel's never
I
put
think
out a
that's an
video
important
that
point.
didn't get a lot of play, so he doesn't know what you're talking about, Brandon. I know what you're talking about. I've put out videos nobody responds to, but Daniel doesn't.
That's
Hey, we have a few minutes left. I want to get some predictions for the next 50 episodes here, or the next. By the time we get to 200,
year.
I know
we're going to the next
no
year.
pressure, but you did so good last time. Like,
Yeah, no, right.
I will.
I know you batted like almost 1,000 on those.
The first one's quite easy. I think it's going to be, we're going to have the evolution of AI, and it's going to be agents and the agentic impact on LinkedIn. So a lot more of LinkedIn-based tasks that could be automated. Like I said, LinkedIn are launching their own agentic thing in January. We're going to see other tools and platforms do the same. So that's my first one. The sort of next stage of AI's takeover of LinkedIn. I think sponsored ads and paid ads. So the whole pay-to-play thing, where that window's closing, it's going to be even more next year, and we'll see a lot more people spending a lot more money and getting a lot more controlled results.
Do you see, Daniel, like even agents getting involved in an agent that even looks at your post gets a certain level of traction, automatically boosts it, even, telling you, I mean, really kind of helping you, guide you through sort of the process and the workflow of using organic and paid together?
I see that not next year. That's probably 2 to 3 years out.
Oh, that's for 250. Yeah. Okay, all right. We'll save that one for.
But that's like
for
that's definitely where we want to get to.
Right.
I've just seen how slow, and LinkedIn's quite slow with these sort of things. So we got to
key,
make sure we get it right. So yeah.
But the key with that is still going to be people are going to have to actually create content, and we just talked so much about how scared people are to do it.
I mean, I think we'll still.
What are jobs even going to look like in that time span? I mean, I think about like the tasks that AI is taking away, the administrative tasks, that the hours that are being saved, and I just what types of job roles and responsibilities will exist in 2 years that area will complement. And to your point, Brandon, earlier, like some of the folks that are shying away from this stuff, their landscape may look totally different then. I don't know.
No. What's number
3? Any other?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon. No, any other predictions, Daniel? We have, so AI is still agentic AI, and I'm sorry, what was the thing you had? Oh, pay to play.
Pay to play. I think the final prediction I'm going to make, and it's more of a hope than anything, is that we're already kind of seeing it, but I think the LinkedIn inbox will evolve as well. We've now started to see the sort of spam folder come into play, and I'm ever hopeful that it's going to become a lot more of a user-friendly experience. So I live in hope. I do think next year could be the year that they start to make some bigger improvements on that, and that would make conversations and things like that a lot easier to have, and filtering, etc., a lot easier.
Do you think by removing InMail and the sponsored mail would help that? Because I get so much of that it's like I don't even want to go in there. It's like I have to like look for, the diamond in the rough, sort of, or the needle in the haystack, about an actual legitimate conversation.
I think it would help, but the problem is it makes the money, so I don't think they're going to take it away.
Yeah, it's just maybe they have 2 inboxes or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think there are solutions around it. It won't go, but there are better ways that the inbox could be a lot more user friendly. And I'm hopeful that comes into play.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful they start letting us create some rules around our own spam folder, because I mean, the spam folder's there, but so few of my messages go in there, and I'm still archive. And gosh, if a message starts with, I'm just following up on my previous message, and I genuinely believe, like, freaking just blow that thing up. Like, come on.
Well, imagine if actually,
they should be.
If all those inauthentic spammy messages went into a spam folder, actually companies might start to pay attention and train their teams to start sending better messages. So yeah, we live in hope. Hopefully they'll find a way to track that better, because 99% of the messages I get in my inbox are spammy and just would always go into the junk folder. So the moment it can start doing that automatically, the better, and then salespeople can start to raise the bar.
Do you think video will continue to get good organic reach over the next year?
It was supposed to be a lot bigger this year than it was. I mean, we've lost the video tab already, but video engagement is still tracking high. Portrait videos are still tracking high. LinkedIn has constantly been playing with video over the last 3 to 5 years, and I think they'll continue to play with it. And I think it will still have a very strong place. Where it is very valuable and will always be is that it's the most currently the most human authentic piece of content you can do. We are close, unfortunately, to AI being able to do really good.
A Sora video, and I saw somebody the other day posting a picture where they were like riding a horse, and clearly it was AI, and it's like, oh God, this is where we're headed. But I do like the fact I can go out to YouTube. My favorite new discovery is they've inserted Elvis into like Star Trek and Superman and Jaws and even Back to the Future. And it looks and sounds pretty entertaining.
Yeah. AI is massively entertaining, but it is scary at how realistic it's getting. So yeah, but to the point, I do think video will still have a very strong place, and it is still some of the best ways to interact with the audiences. So
I know we had a really tough time locking down Brandon for season 3 with contract negotiations. We may have to put in an AI Brandon for season 4.
Maybe we'll all be AI.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll all be AI.
That's right.
I could maybe get some more sleep.
Yeah. All right. Any final questions or thoughts for Daniel, Brandon, and Carson? This has been great.
We just touched briefly on video. Daniel, what's your advice to companies with video moving forward right now, just in general? Because I do agree. I think this year started with a lot of hype around video, and then it just kind of, I don't know, it didn't go away, but it didn't go anywhere either. It's just kind of there, is my opinion. Do you agree with that? And then what should companies be doing with video?
I completely agree. That's exactly what happened this year. I do still think video is one of the most valuable forms of content. And my 2 big tips, super quick and simple, is number 1, portrait videos done on your phone that are nice and organic, that could be sort of you at your desk or you walking somewhere. Those always have and will continue to perform really, really strong. But I also would recommend to companies to look at building some form of studio in your office if you have the capacity to do so. Have some sort of high quality studio space for your teams to create good content, because that is also really, really valuable. Sort of good camera, good lighting, all those sort of things, and that sort of consistent theme is really effective, and there's so much creative stuff you can do with that. So both of those forms, that's where I would be suggesting focus.
All right. Well, it's been a great hour. Daniel, will you join us on 200?
Absolutely. I have to now.
Okay.
I have to. We've made this a thing.
Yeah.
Every 50s,
That's right.
Just
That's
next
right.
10 years, however long, sign me up.
Send him the contract.
Okay.
You didn't pay
All
much,
right.
but send him the contract.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. As always, man, I really appreciate you taking time for us, especially because it's late at night for you.
It is nearly bedtime, but I wouldn't miss
It's happy hour.
It is happy hour. I wouldn't miss it as well. I love these conversations. I really enjoy talking to all of you. I hope the audience enjoys it, and I appreciate you guys inviting me. So thank you.
You're the best, man. Thank you. Thanks for all you do for the sales and social selling movements and community. Can't wait to see you in another 50.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, Carson, wrap us up.
Right, thanks everybody for being on. Ray and LinkedIn user and others out there. Until next time, happy modern selling.